So hello everyone, I'm Tofu. We're on my fully completed crime island of Gaol-Town, as you can tell by the flag and the thumbnail that you clicked on, and incidentally, my 100th video that I've uploaded to my channel, so yay! But today we're going to be doing a full tour of my completed island and just going over the lore of all the villagers that I've managed to accumulate on said island. But before we do that, I'm just going to quickly jump into the map and show off those villagers for those that aren't accustomed with said island. So, as you can see, the map is just a big mess, but we have the villages of Bella, Sprocket, Monique, Raddle, Spike, Marlowe, Harry, Matilda, Eric, and Beardo. So just quickly going over their roles, we've got Bella and Matilda down here, are part of a girl gang, like a street gang, just petty kind of crime, and like criminals and thugs, just going around bullying various, obviously, members of the island. We've got Marlowe being the mafia boss, obviously. He looks like the Don, he looks like the Godfather. The role was made for him. You've then got Spike is his bodyguard, and Monique is Marlowe's girlfriend. And then you've got Sprocket, who was a original starter on the island. And I've just kept him. But I have it in my headcanon he was made by Raddle, who is our mad, quote-unquote, scientist. He's the suspicious doctor. If you need anything on the island, he'll get you it. No questions asked, as long as you obviously pay the money. You've got Harry, who's an unemployed bum who kind of gets bullied by the likes of Bella and Matilda. You've got Beardo, who thinks he's the mayor character of the island, but yeah, obviously, it's just a front. He thinks he's the mayor, but he's not really running anything at all. And then you've got Eric, who is Beardo's nephew, and everyone thinks he's squeaky clean, but actually, he's a smuggler. And so he manages to get things onto the island and things off of the island when needs be. But yeah, let's jump into the island, shall we? So here is obviously the entrance. And initially, I did have this really grand and fancy looking entrance. And I wanted Beardo and, at the time, it was Mira, who was my hero type character, to live in it. And it felt like they were living in a really nice area. And then the second you left it, it just became this horrible, nasty area there. Loads of crime and just all the nasty things happened. And I ended up changing it and turning it into this because as much as I liked the previous build, it just didn't feel like it was part of the world. And so I've still got the area up the top where you've got Beardo and now at the moment Eric, who live up here in this really kind of fancy area, but it does feel a lot more involved in the world. Obviously you've got a few dilapidated buildings and we've got a little construction site which is very just messy and unsafe, so tools lying around. You've got a chainsaw just up there which technically anyone can grab. We've got the mafia boss Don himself, Marlowe, just chasing the bugs, so that's cool. But yeah, we've got various bits and bobs of just trash. We've got destroyed cars just abandoned. But we're going to run off to the right. And here we have, obviously, the shop. And it was so unbelievably hard to keep it in this style. It meant that everything I wanted to gain as far as builds, I had to unlock fully through Happy Home Paradise and then buy it through there. Or just use Treasure Islands. Or transfer it from a different island. And so it's been an absolute headache to try and build anything on this island. But, that was the aesthetic I was going for, so that's just what you got to do. We've got another fake building, and obviously a little shed on the beach with a squatters camp. And I've built a couple of squatters camp just around on the beach, because honestly, when it came to the beach builds, I had no idea what to do. And I built a lot of them off camera. We have another little fig building just off on this peninsula. And we run up on this road. More damaged cars and things leading up to the broken car wash. So, as you can see, obviously there is some water running, but it's constantly running. The other side doesn't work at all. Everything's kind of rusty and horrible. And the whole idea of this island was naturally crimecore, so you wanted lots of criminals, we wanted it very narrative driven. I wanted an urban area though, and I wanted it to feel like nature was trying to reclaim it, so there's lots of wheat fields, there's going to be a tree and weeds and things like that popping up just in the road every now and again. But yeah, where there is a lot of metal, there's going to be a lot of rust. Everything's just not been cared for particularly well. And yeah, everyone's let it go nasty. Apart from very certain small areas on the island. Speaking of which, here is Marlowe's nightclub. So naturally, being the head of a mafia organisation, obviously don't tell anyone, but this is where he comes to relax, this is where he does his shady deals. And yeah, I just really enjoy this nightclub build. I thought it was really fun to do, and to be honest, any kind of fake building, like builds that I've done, it's really out of my comfort zone. And so it's a bit of a challenge, but I thought it was really fun to do. So just behind the nightclub, we have a messy graveyard area, and this is something that I built off of camera. And this area is kind of hides Harry, to be honest. This is where he hangs around. But yeah, it's really messy. You've got weeds, you've got flowers popping up, you've got just bits of trash, oil barrels. And then in these particular graves, you've got some radioactive, I guess slime for want of a better word. It's leaking out of the barrels, leaking all over the ground. It's caused this little pile of leaves to set fire. And yeah, there's just a pile of something here. Spooky. But we are coming into the spooky month, so, you know, very fitting. But here we have Harry's home, and his just part of the beach again is very just filled with trash. He doesn't look after it. The whole point of him being on the island was that he looks kind of scruffy and just like an unemployed bum, and so that is his role. And all the villager homes on the island have been designed to fulfill this narrative that I've got going. I have done a video showing off all the homes, so link in the description if you would like to see the inside of their homes. I won't be visiting them all in this video, just because there's a lot, and it takes quite a lot of time to just catch them in their homes, honestly. But we're now moving on to the junkyard area, which is where Sprocket resides. Obviously, being a crime island, you need some kind of crime that's happened, and poor Zipper, if you're into that boy. Obviously I'm not, so I don't really mind that this has happened to him. Maybe that's a bit mean on me, but oh well. More fake buildings obviously hiding the junkyard. We've got this hot buns sign, so you can kind of gather what's happening here in this bed. And yeah. Then we've got this junkyard area where Sprocket resides, like I said. Very, very filled with just trash. And to be honest, like I had said, I feel like it's headcanon that Sprocket was made by Raddle. So Raddle made this robot to maybe help out around his lab. But Sprocket wanted to do his own thing, so he's ended up hiding in this junkyard area. And he actually uses this junkyard to hide his manufacturing plant in his home. So that's where he develops certain things, and I've got it so that he's growing certain things using hydroponics, so weeds and shrooms, if you will. And yeah, maybe that's where Raddle gets his supply when he needs to meet certain mafia deadlines and things like that. Obviously, if we go down here, this just leads up to the resident services. Indeed, there is Sprocket fishing in trash lake. Right next to the junkyard, we have this abandoned playground build. So a small playground just to the right, and then a soccer field on the left hand side with more fake buildings just hiding the fact. But I wanted it to feel very overgrown, like, to be honest, just most of the island. Lots of bits of trash just dotted around, so no one's given this area any kind of care or love that it actually deserves. And then you've got the fake buildings, the one on the left, just having a little, I guess, a weed patch and a little lab table experiment set, I guess. I couldn't think of the name for it. But here is where the girl gangs reside. So you've got Matilda, who is thinking, and I'm not going to talk to her because, you know. And we have Bella on the right hand side. So my headcanon, again, with these girls, is that they're part of a street gang, like kind of petty thugs, petty criminals. And they go around just, you know, pickpocketing. They have this little card table so that if you end up in this area, they wow you with card games and card tricks, but they're scamming you out of their money, or your money, sorry. So, in particular, We have Matilda, who is trying to teach her Joey all the things that she knows so that eventually the Joey can overthrow Marlowe and become the head of this island and run it all. And we have Bella, who has beef with Monique, who is on the island, because one of the previous villagers that was on this island was Kyle. And even though the girl gang bullied Kyle a lot because he was in a band and it wasn't really going anywhere, Bella secretly had a crush on Kyle. And then Monique ended up coming onto the island, and I had Monique, who is Kyle's ex. Kyle just couldn't stand the fact that he was on the same island as his ex, and so he was forced out. And Bella has then just vowed vengeance on Monique and wants to destroy her, even though Monique is actually Marlowe's girlfriend. So yeah, lots of intrigue, lots of backstabbing, just as you'd expect on a crime island. Here we have Spike's home, again next to another fake building, in front of a just trash-strewn beach with a little patch of weeds and various bits of electronics and things that have been just thrown away. Yeah, I wanted it, obviously with Spike being a big tough guy, I wanted it to seem like a little area where you could do maybe a bit of exercise, but obviously it's run down like the rest of the island. But just above his home, we have Spike's Fight Club. So the big boxing ring where, you know, people that think they're tough can come in, they can fight, they can train. And being a crime island, being mafia run, this is where you'd obviously put various bets on. So we've got the little cash prize for any winners of these fight tournaments that are going on here. And yeah, maybe Marlowe's making something a little bit on the side. I'm actually going to run up now. So obviously there's a bridge to the left, but I'm going to just go to this bridge at the top here. And this is where the abandoned prison is. So I'd like to imagine that this island at one point was fully functioning and did have police and everything was just nice and, you know, pleasant to be. But yeah, things have got out of hand. Maybe Marlowe came in and has started running things behind the scene and everything's just kind of fallen apart. And then what was a functioning prison for any criminal types has just been abandoned. Everything's gone rusty. Like the actual cells itself have lost the doors so people can just come in and go as they please. So people have been drinking and just discarding bottles, various cans and things like that. All bits of trash, maybe even graffitiing the walls. But this felt like a perfect hideout for our suspicious doctor, Raddle. And who knows what kind of experiments he's got going on, but he's got this weird lab chair, obviously the glowing moss shelves, his lab equipment on the top, electronic kits just dotted around, along with his work table, and obviously oil barrels and such. Yeah, all is good. To the left is a fancy looking area where I wanted Marlowe and Monique to live, and so they live in the nicest part of the island, but I'm not going to show that off right away because that was a build I did off camera, so I'm quickly just going to run down here and show you more of my urban street design. And we're coming up to one of my last builds, but there's a fake building on the right hand side, again lots of rusty, dilapidated sides, and here we have a pawn shop. So it only makes sense that you would have something like this on this island, in my view anyway. So once anyone gets hold of or happens to steal certain valuable items, they run up to the pawn shop, obviously sell it for a quick buck, and yeah, use that money to do whatever nefarious deeds they want to do, I suppose. Right in front of the pawn shop, we have just another radioactive oil spill in front of these barrels. That's why you've got the glowing moss growing, because obviously they're very fluorescent. And yeah, I imagine that that's seeping into the ground and causing all this just glow-in-the-dark plants to actually grow here. We have another squatters camp, but quite a large one this time, surrounding the campground. And yeah, I really like what I've done with the squatters camp and the use of the tarps on the floor and then just the various discarded trash. I think it really works well with this island. So if I can't run around that way, but if I can run around it this way, I'll just show off a little bit more of the beach before I show where the Able Sisters build is. We have Sahara, as you may have already seen on the beach here. yeah, plenty of plants, plenty of just dead trees, shopping trolleys that have been stolen from the Nook's Cranny and then just abandoned. Obviously this doghouse with the scary dog. Ooh. Yeah. And then we're coming up to what was my very last build on the island. So we have this little street here with a small, I guess, vending area, but it's just tins of food, and you've got this sloppy sink. Everyone, like I said, no one really cares about this island at all. This is meant to be a home, so it's obviously fenced off, so you can't get to it. Another couple of fake buildings with an unfortunate soul here, but it is a crime island, so you know you need obvious crime to have happened. We can assume the sword is the murder weapon, I guess, but we want it very claustrophobic as it leads up to the Able Sisters. And yeah, just very cluttered, very ramshackle, trash everywhere, just like the rest of the island as well, so I think it really fits. It is a shame you can't change the appearance of like the museum, the Able Sisters and things like that to fit your theme, because the Able Sisters is just a nice area, and so it doesn't necessarily fit with this crime island, but I've done the best I could to do with it. So here we're running onto the beach. It starts getting closer to Marlowe and Monique's house and the museum area, so the beach is a little bit nicer. We have a few graves, just so this is where Marlowe's associates, his good friends, would be placed, and he actually takes care of them really nicely. But this beach also hides a secret, and he's not afraid to make certain people disappear. So I've got this, this body hiding in the wheat fields, but of course, you didn't see that, right? Cool. We have Monique, who is just in the fancy museum area. I wanted lots of statues, lots of gold and white roses just dotted around here. Again, really trying to sell this area as being fancy. Certainly compared to the rest of the island, like when you compare it to the abandoned prison just to the right, and there's lots of rusty jail bars, there's lots of damaged castle walls. And yeah, this area is meant to just feel really nice, really out of place, honestly. But that's because Marlowe is obviously looking after Monique, and in my headcanon, we've got Brewster is a real good friend of Marlowe, and so Marlowe's basically persuaded Brewster to come over and set up a cafe in the museum, and as a result the museum is just in this really nice area. And maybe we can imagine that the art section is all of Marlowe's private art collection. So it's put in the museum so it can be like, you know, anyone in the public can come and see it, but technically speaking it all belongs to Marlowe. So yeah. Then we run up here, we have Marlowe and Monique's house. So very lovely, very fancy. And then the last little area is where the player resides. So obviously me, Tofu. And that's just down this little path here. So we cross the bridge. We have a small resting area and a little Japanese like Zen garden for Monique and Marlowe to enjoy. Obviously a book for whenever Monique wants to actually rest in this area. But the damaged fence here is to then kind of barrier off my area. And here we have it. So we have various like wheat fields. We have this sugarcane and this, what I'm going to say is a poppy field. So yeah, the sugarcane is for when I'm brewing various illegal hooches. We've got this poppy field and the lab equipment for when I want to extract a certain thing from poppies. Wink wink. And yeah, the wheat is obviously kind of similar to the sugarcane in that, you know, you need like barley and things like that for hops to make beer and such. And then just a little patch of weeds. And yeah, I'm like Raddle's assistant almost, kind of what Sprocket was meant to have been. But if Raddle needs a certain helping hand on an order that Marlowe has put in, then yeah, I'll assist in any way I can. We also have the little secret beach, which honestly isn't really much. There's just a little cave, there's a little tiki torch. Red can still get onto the beach and you can still access his little barge, so I imagine that's where certain certain items get kind of brought in, and then maybe by Eric as well, maybe, you know, orchestrated by Eric or Marlowe. But you also have this little treasure chest just hidden away where you couldn't necessarily see it. But let's jump into the player home and I'll show you what I've done there. Oh, so we obviously have a cockroach. Being a just a nasty crime island, it makes sense that cockroaches would be in the player home. And I didn't do this on camera, mostly because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And even when doing it, I had no idea. So I've just used various items that were in my storage. But I wanted a small workshop area. So I've got the amazing machine, I've got a couple of workbenches with a medicine cabinet, so I imagine that's the various pills and things that I've managed to make for either Marlowe, Raddle or whoever else needs them. I wanted a very industrial feel, so that's where the gears have come in. But I also wanted it to feel a little bit lived in, so there's just this TV next to the sloppy table and the sofa and things like that. Right, let's run off to the right hand room, obviously being careful of not to squish the cockroach. And here we just have a small room for growing mushrooms, and again, kind of like Sprocket with his manufacturing plant. Yeah, just a place to grow shrooms, so he's got more of a hydroponics feel. I wanted this to feel a lot more open, almost as if it's just part of a forest, and they're just naturally growing. So I'm not trying to kind of do it on a big scale, but yeah, I still have the ability to grow some things. And here is my final room that I've designed. So I've kept it pretty simple, but this is my treasure room. So obviously when you do favours for the Don, he makes sure that he treats you well, he will obviously reward you. And so yeah, this is just my various bits of treasure. So gold bullion bars, actual treasure, cash, lots of gold furniture, and yeah, a throne just as well. So you can just sit in here and bask in all your golden glory. I also thought the Japanese screen and the katana just kind of fit in here. But yeah, it's like I said, very simple. There's nothing on the walls, and I was just using things that were in my storage. I didn't necessarily want to go out of my way to try and design something like spectacular because, like I said, I just didn't have a real idea as to what I wanted to do. So guys, that is the entirety of Gaol-Town in all its glory. So hopefully you enjoyed everything that I've done. We did actually have a few villages that I haven't mentioned because a lot of the things were chopping and changing. It was just kind of a good excuse to have a load of characters that I didn't want for any other island, or that I just think are kind of bad, honestly. But I guess a few honourable mentions to villagers. We had Mira, that I think I mentioned previously. She was meant to be a hero that was cleaning up the island, but she ran away when she actually noticed that she wasn't cleaning up anything. There was still crime just happening on the island. And yeah, she's run off to train with all the other superheroes. And hopefully she'll, or in her mind, she'll come back and then clean up this island for good. We did have Renee, who was, at the time, Biff, who was Marlowe's bodyguard. And so Renee was Biff's girlfriend. However, Bitty ended up coming onto the island, which is Biff's mum. They were talking smack about Renee, and so Renee ran off to Spike, her big brother. And yeah, Spike didn't like that at all. So Spike came onto the island, he then fought Biff, and law of the island is if you fight the bodyguard and win, you become Marlowe's bodyguard. Hello, Harry. What a beautiful boy. And yeah, we've also had Kyle, which I mentioned previously, and he ran off of the island because Monique obviously came onto the island and he didn't want to be anywhere near his ex because, yeah, it just broke his heart. And as a result, Bella has vowed vengeance on Monique because, like I said previously, Bella had a secret crush on Kyle. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed all the lore, all the narrative that was based around this island. Hopefully you enjoyed all the designs. I had real fun building this entirety of the island, even though, like I said, the fake buildings was a massive challenge for me. But if you'd like to visit the island yourself and then walk around at your own leisure, at your own pace, maybe even visit a villager home or two, then the dream address will be displayed on screen now or in the description below. So, thank you very much for everyone that watched this. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy, please hit like and consider subscribing if you haven't done already. My next video is going to be a villager hunt on Utopia, my all-sheep island, so hopefully you're looking forward to that, and then I think afterwards I'm going to try build on that same island as well, so hopefully I'll see you there. But until that next video, I want to say thank you very much, hope to see you there, and have a good one. Cheers guys.